Rita, thanks very much. Tonight, folks, At Large is packed. First of all, we'll be picking up where Rita left off with probing debates on the state of both the Bryant and Peterson prosecutions. Among other crucial aspects, we'll be exploring my sure-to-be incendiary suggestion that Eagle County, Colorado, dropped the now, in my view, obviously flawed case against Kobe in return for his apology to and multi-million-dollar settlement with the young woman involved. Before we begin, though, a series of Fox News alerts. In the wake of the release of yet another tape message purportedly from Osama bin Laden, the traveling White House is urging the world to back the U.S.-led war on terror. The tape is, quote, a reminder that the global war on terror continues, said White House spokesman Scott McClellan, who is accompanying President Bush to the summit in Bangkok, Thailand. Now, among other things, the voice on the tape spews this at our GIs. I'm quoting. I tell the American troops, your stay in Iraq is unjust and a huge folly. Your blood will be spilled so the White House gang gets richer, end quote. Does the appearance of this tape, apparently made on or around early September, signal that the opposition in Iraq is any more evolved or organized than it has been? Let's ask our pal Mike Tobin, who is live in Baghdad. Mike, what do you think? Are our GIs seeing an opposition that's more organized, more evolved?
That's a tough thing to say because it seems to evolve and become stronger from time to time based on some emotionalism, and things like this can cause it to peak. Things like this little group, this little insurgency backed by Sheikh Muqtada al-Sadr, this seems to make these things peak from time to time. And so when we have a tape like this still not authenticated by the CIA, it could inspire some people, especially now that for the first time they have the ability to see these things on TV. Again, this tape not authenticated by the CIA. Some of the things that you have come to expect when you hear a bin Laden tape, threats of continued jihad, things of that nature. Let me go into a few of the specifics of what we are hearing from this tape. Read some of the quotes to you verbatim. The first one, I tell the American people we'll continue fighting and we will continue martyrdom operations inside and outside the United States until you stop your injustice and your foolishness. Jihad must continue until an Islamic government is established. It also goes on to make threats against other countries that have helped the United States, saying we reserve the right to respond at the appropriate time and place against all countries participating in this unjust war, particularly Britain, Spain, Australia, Poland, Japan, and Italy, no exception for those participating from the countries of the Islamic world and the Gulf, especially Kuwait. One last quote, let me read it for you. I call upon all Muslims, especially Iraqis, I tell them, do not dare support the crusading American armies and all those that ally with them. Anyone that aids them or whatever becomes of them, no matter the label, is sacrilegious. Something interesting about the timing of this tape, Geraldo, or some of the things that are on this tape, it mentions the rule of Mahmoud Abbas, or Abu Mazen from the Palestinian Authority. He stepped down on the 6th of September, so quite possibly this tape was made before then. Back to you in New York.
Okay, mate, stay safe. Appreciate it. The release of the purported bin Laden tape will likely have the effect of bolstering President Bush's message to that Bangkok summit, that the terror war continues and that the entire civilized world remains at risk. But will the Asian Pacific countries listen? Let's ask our pal Buck Ravel, former FBI counterterrorism chief. Hey, Buck, what's going on?
Well, it's an interesting time, particularly with the president being in Southeast Asia as all these activities are ongoing.
Do you think he's at added risk? He's always at risk, but is this some incremental?
Well, I think the security procedures there will be so extraordinary that the threat may be there, but the risk is probably fairly well contained. Certainly it was in the Philippines. There was an extraordinary amount of security. Of course, as you know, he even went before the Filipino parliament and addressed the joint session, so he's not going to be hiding in the hotel, but you can bet the Secret Service and the associated military groups are taking all the precautions that are necessary.
I tell you, Buck, we have seen what I consider surprising assistance in the war on terror from a country like Pakistan. Mm-hmm. What about the Philippines? What about Thailand? What about these other Southeast Asian countries?
Well, President Arroyo in the Philippines was one of the earliest supporters of President Bush and the war on terrorism. Of course, they've got their own terrorism problem. They've got the Abu Sayyaf, they've had the Moro Islamic Liberation Front, the New People's Army, which is still a communist group. They've been at war with terrorism for the last 30 years. The United States has helped them from time to time, and of course, since 9/11, we've put substantial resources, including our troops, into the Philippines to train their personnel and to assist them in planning operations against particularly the Abu Sayyaf.
Buck, thanks very much. We wish the President Godspeed and success at that summit. This, ladies and gentlemen, has been a Fox News Alert. Here now the show. The NBA season begins a week after Kobe Bryant, the Lakers All-Star, learns whether he's headed for the trial of his life in Eagle County, Colorado. There, despite obvious prosecution weakness, the judge is expected to allow the rape case to go forward. Why? Here's the DA's spin.
What a preliminary hearing is in Colorado is a probable cause determination. It's a very, very low standard, and no prosecutor puts on their whole case at preliminary hearing.
That said, exactly what they've got left and how the prosecution plans to rebound from the devastating last day of the preliminary hearing remain a mystery. Although the judge will probably refer it forward to trial, in this reporter's opinion, it will be an exercise in futility. The third-party semen and pubic hair in the victim's panties, her possible failure to have said no, his total lack of injuries, the existence of multiple exits from Bryant's hotel room, and conflicting testimony concerning the victim's post-encounter demeanor, among other exculpatory evidence, all add up to Bryant's almost certain acquittal on the charge of rape. Given the facts and circumstances as we currently know them, the chance of his being convicted is virtually nil, which leads us to make the following suggestion. Forget going forward to trial. Get the state out of this. Whether he raped her, Bryant obviously deeply offended this young woman. He should publicly apologize and pay her an enormous settlement on the order of $5 million. Financial security will help her heal. It will hurt him, but he's got it coming. Tonight we debate our proposed settlement of the incident in Eagle, Colorado. Also tonight, even if Scott Peterson is only a cheating husband, he's about to endure the embarrassment of a lifetime. When the world hears telephone tapes of him telling Amber Fry he loves her just hours after leading the good people of Modesto in a candlelight vigil praying for Lacey's safe return. But as the defense mounts a formidable challenge to the state's forensic evidence, they better have more in their arsenal than just the jury's revulsion toward Scott's behavior. We'll debate. Also tonight, the lawsuits against the city have started rolling in. We'll have the latest on New York's worst ferry disaster in a century. The boat's pilot tried to take his own life shortly after 10 died and scores more were injured. But why didn't any other crew member notice he was asleep at the wheel as it plowed into the pier going full speed ahead? We'll explain. And tonight we'll be live at Yankee Stadium where the World Series is underway, leading by 3. But now that the possibility is gone of an extraordinary matchup involving those two lovable losers, the Cubs and the Red Sox, who cares who wins? Tonight we'll find out. So stand by, we are live and at large in New York City and around the world. Hi, everybody. I'm Geraldo Rivera. Bryant is coming, but up front tonight, the emergence of Amber Fry as probably the state's most important witness against Scott Peterson. Why? Because the lies he told and the deceit he demonstrated in that relationship establish, in my opinion, not just the motive for killing his wife, but also a pattern of flamboyant cold-heartedness that the jury will find difficult to ignore. We've heard before about the flood of phone calls between the two, but the National Enquirer claims to have learned the contents of those calls. Before we get to that, check this out. Item, December 25th. Scott tells Amber he's with his family in Maine, when in fact Lacey has already gone missing, and all hell is breaking loose in Modesto. Item, December 31st. The lovers speak twice. Item, after their second conversation, a supposedly grieving Scott joins more than 1,000 people praying for Lacey's safe return, having just hung up with Amber Fry. Item, April 18th. The phone conversations continue almost to the day Scott is finally arrested and charged with double homicide. The Enquirer confirms what others have reported, that Amber Fry has managed to extract a semi-confession from Scott. Quote, "I didn't do anything to Lacey, but I know who did." Patricia Shipp, senior reporter for the Enquirer, joins us now live from Los Angeles. Patricia, welcome. Have you actually seen or have you actually listened to the phone conversations, the tapes themselves?
No, I haven't, but my editor has, Charlie Montgomery, and as well as some reporters on the East Coast. They've listened to it and reported it as it's written in the story.
So you actually, the Inquirer actually has in its possession these phone tapes, the tap that was put on Scott Peterson's cell phone and Amber Fry's phone?
No, I wouldn't say they're in their possession now. I'm sure they're with, you know, the authorities, but they have had access. Actually, they've gotten it from really good sources, and that's what they reported from.
Now, wait a second. Are you saying that the Inquirer staff listened to the tapes, or that really good sources listened to the tapes?
The sources listened to the tapes, but I am sure, I don't want to go into too much detail for obvious reasons, but I am sure that the way it's reported is very accurate. Let me just say it that way.
Craig Silverman, good enough for you?
Well, I've been reading about these calls. I do think they're going to sink Scott Peterson. I think even the defense realizes Scott's going to spend a lot of time in prison. The whole issue here is not who did it, but where, how, why, and that's the problem for the prosecution, proving first-degree murder and getting the capital sentence that they want.
Victims' rights advocate Wendy Murphy, could the jury listen to these telephone conversations and decide that Scott Peterson is the murdering type?
Well, I think that's exactly part of what they'll take from it. You know, becoming the murdering type in front of a jury, it's not really evidence, but it is certainly part of the drama and the theater of any trial. And one of the things that Scott Peterson has going for him, and has had going for him since day one, is that he looks like our next-door neighbor, you know, our husband, our brother, somebody middle America loves and just can't envision slaughtering his pregnant wife. And what the prosecution needs to do is deal with that by literally giving the jury the kind of real information that shows him to be a cad, somebody who was having an affair, someone who on the day his wife's and his baby's bodies washed up on shore, he was at the Mexican border with blonde hair and $10,000 in cash. This kind of cavalier, I could care less about my wife attitude is going to make the case a lot fairer for the prosecution.
Gloria Allred, although we know that you'd never reveal a client confidence or mess with a gag order, you are permitted, I think, to tell us what date you were retained by Amber Fry.
Well, yeah, I think it's pretty clear that when I announced it, that it was in a short period of time prior to that time.
So then it is fair to suggest, Gloria, and you know we hold you in very high esteem, that you were representing this young lady when her conversations with the accused continued.
I wouldn't have any comment on that.
Is it fair to say that you are more sure than ever that your client will be among the key witnesses in this case?
Well, Geraldo, it will be for the district attorney to announce who will be a witness at the preliminary hearing, which is now calendared for a week from this Tuesday. So at this time, I'm not saying whether or not Amber Fry is going to be a witness, but if the district attorney thinks it is important to the case to call her, she's certainly ready, willing, and able to take the stand and testify and do her part, as I'm sure any citizen would.
Gloria, has your client been notified that she is expected to be there on Tuesday the 28th?
That I would prefer not to comment on.
I realize you would prefer not to, but I am asking you to comment.
I would respectfully have to decline to comment on that.
All right, could you look at your calendar and tell us what you're doing next Tuesday?
A week from Tuesday?
Yes.
I plan to be in Modesto.
Okay, maybe that's a good enough answer. Famed forensic pathologist Dr. Michael Baden joins us. You know, we've been hearing, Dr. Baden, welcome. I can shake your hand here in person. That the cadaver dogs failed to pick up the scent of the dead body of Lacey in Scott's fishing boat. Are there ways for the state to get around this, or is this a damaging, I tell you what, hold your answer. I've got to take a quick commercial break, a cliffhanger.
Okay.
How hurt is the state's case by the failure of the cadaver dogs to pick up Lacey's scent in that boat?
Great.
After this. Stand by, folks. We will return in a moment.
The captioning for this program is brought to you by...
Tried everything for dry, rough, scaly feet? Now try podiatrist recommended Carousel, the unique exfoliating moisturizer for softer, smoother feet. Carousel, it's everything your feet need.
This is what modern medicine was supposed to be about. Attending to patients, not to endless forms and phone calls. Now, a single company is providing information and services that simplify healthcare for more than 250,000 doctors and 75 million patients. WebMD. With WebMD, insurance coverage can be determined instantly. Charts can be accessed anywhere. Results reported, prescriptions written electronically, and claims settled with 1,100 health plans. And with WebMD, physicians can continue their medical education, even attend conferences from home, and patients can monitor their own progress as never before. At a time when the healthcare system can come between doctors and patients, WebMD is helping them to reconnect, and in the process helping to redefine modern medicine. WebMD, modern medicine.
Yo-Yo Ma celebrates the music of Brazil with his new hit album, Obrigado Brazil. An album alive with the passionate rhythms of samba, bossa nova, and more. Featuring stars of Latin music, including the seductive sounds of Brazilian vocalist Rosa Passos. Entertainment Weekly calls the album enchanting.
After making this recording, I've never felt so happy. The music just made me so incredibly happy. There are pieces on that album that you can't help but get up and dance.
Yo-Yo Ma, Obrigado Brazil, the new hit album from America's favorite cellist. Call or log on now to order.
In the battle of leaks, in the Laci Peterson case, the latest from a defense source, obviously, that the state cadaver dogs have failed or did fail to pick up a scent of a dead body in Scott Peterson's fishing boat. As you know, the state's theory is that on or around the morning of Christmas Eve, December 24th that's when Scott Peterson killed his wife or in some other way got her out of the house, wrapped her in a tarp or some other device, got in that fishing boat, drove 90 miles to the Berkeley Marina, got out to San Francisco Bay, and dumped the pregnant woman near where her body and that of her almost born son Connor were later found. The absence of a scent, Dr. Budden, how compelling?
I don't think that's very compelling at all for a number of reasons. One is there were a number of days delay before the cadaver dogs came out, and cadaver dogs are good for clues for police, not for evidence in court. And if the body were wrapped in plastic or in a bag, or if, as possible, there were multiple bags for the dismembered body, then there need not be any scent for a cadaver dog to appreciate when they come to the boat.
Can you clean a boat sufficiently so a dog wouldn't smell anything?
Yes, absolutely yes, number one, and absolutely if the remains were in plastic bags, the dog wouldn't, the scent wouldn't get out. So that if the body were in the boat and dumped, there need not be any kind of scent in the boat.
Not decisive.
Not decisive at all.
But Craig Silverman, here's the question I have for you. The fact that the state did not reveal to the defense that the cadaver dogs had come up empty, is that more significant than the fact of what they found or did not find?
Well, yeah, it's interesting. This actually wasn't a leak. I think this was in a defense motion castigating the prosecution, trying to attack the wiretap, saying, hey, when you got these warrants and these wiretaps, you didn't reveal the information about the cadaver dog. There are a lot of dogs involved in this case, live by the dog, die by the dog. Remember, Laci was supposed to be walking their golden retriever, who was found roaming the streets of Modesto, and then other dogs tracked the scent from Modesto to San Francisco Bay, and then this dog, the cadaver dog, who's ironically named Twist, came up short. So I think the defense will put on this evidence, but Dr. Bodden has done a good job of minimizing its impact.
Wendy Murphy, the fact that now the defense is using a traditional approach to this case, no more the Satanists did it, but rather the state's case is flawed. They're saying now that the chain of custody of the forensic evidence involving the hair of the victim found in the boat was broken, and therefore the hair should be inadmissible. The fact about the cadaver dogs, is this more traditional approach more likely to bear fruit than the more outlandish tactics Garagos has used heretofore?
Well, you certainly get that feeling, Geraldo. I think, you know, the defense has tried so many theories that have gone over like lead balloons in the court of public opinion. And what's left when you have nothing else, when you really have a strong case that you have to worry about as a defense attorney, you start attacking the government. You blame them for doing everything wrong. You play every card you can and talk about how unfair they are. There's a certain percentage of the population that will latch onto that theory, whether it's true or not. A certain percentage of the population just doesn't like the government.
Got to take a break. When we come back, the Kobe Bryant settlement. What do you think about that after this?
The UN unites to help Iraq, but Washington says yes with conditions. Are the Dems playing election politics? Senator Lindsey Graham responds. This week on Fox News Sunday. Check your local listing.
I'm giving away millions more of my computer learning lessons, and I'm happy to do so. Hi, I'm John Scheer, CEO and founder of Video Professor. You know, over the last few months, my free computer learning offer has been more popular than ever. I'm shipping out thousands of my lessons every day to computer users across America who are tired of being held back by their lack of computer skills. So isn't it time for you to join the millions of satisfied customers who have learned to run a computer using Video Professor products? Remember, it's a complete lesson of your choice, and it's absolutely free. You can choose from Windows, Word, Excel, Quicken, and many more. The only thing easier than ordering my free lesson is learning with them. This proven what you see is what you do learning method, written in plain English, is fun to follow along with, and it's easy to use. Use the play, pause, and rewind buttons to follow the easy step-by-step instructions. I guarantee you'll be up and running in less than an hour. Call now and I'll send you any one of my products absolutely free. You just pay a small shipping and processing charge, and I'll even refund that if you're not completely satisfied with my product. You know, I have people stop me all the time to tell me how much they like learning with Video Professor. How surprised they were with the amount of information they learned from just one CD and how much it has improved their lives. That's why I can make this incredible free offer, because I know that once you try my product, you will come back to us for all your computer learning needs. So what are you waiting for? Pick up the phone and call. Order your free CD today. I'll ship this to you within a week. So what do you got to lose? Try my product.
Call Video Professor now for your free lesson. Choose from Windows, Word, Quicken, the Internet, and many more. Call now and this free gift will be yours. The Anytime Organizer is the calendar, diary, address book, and journal on your PC, so you'll never miss an appointment again. Remember, you must call now to get your free CD and the extra free gift.
To get your free computer learning CD, you must call now. Call 1-800-718-1837.
Like all great movements, it started small.
We used to call our old phone company the Small Business Prevention Unit.
Small businesses everywhere are getting together to support a new phone company with a big idea.
It was Vonage's idea.
Use the power of broadband to improve phone service for businesses everywhere.
Unlimited calls anywhere in the U.S. and Canada for only $49.99 a month.
Plus a free fax line.
Who out there ever got a free fax line from their old phone company?
Did your old phone company ever give you anything?
Call 1-877-4VONAGE or visit Vonage.com today.
Call waiting free.
Voicemail free. Caller ID free.
Our phone bill hasn't been under $50 since I can't remember.
I could see an online record of all my calls in real time.
This is a fascinating emerging social group.
Together, we can put an end to the madness. Keep your phone and lose your old phone company.
Call 1-877-4VONAGE or visit Vonage.com today.
Plug your business into a better phone company.
Vonage, the broadband phone company.
What about a tour? Because we heard that she gave him a private tour. Is that standard procedure?
You know, I never really heard about any tours being given. That wasn't something that was a usual practice. You know, if a guest wanted it, I suppose that, you know, it could have been given. Honestly, I don't know what you could have given a tour of.
Brendan Murphy, former employee of the Cordillera Spa Resort, opining that the tour, so-called, that the alleged victim gave to Kobe Bryant of the Cordillera Resort was extraordinary, was unprecedented. What do you give a tour of, he says. Be that as it may. In El Segundo, California, we have this bulletin. Kobe Bryant went through his hardest scrimmage yet in terms of the preseason with the Lakers, and he was very downbeat afterward. He said, every day is a bad day. You just kind of take the good with it. We'll get through this situation. Every storm has to end. As you know, on Monday, the 25-year-old five-time NBA All-Star is expected to learn whether or not the charges against him, the rape charges against him, will proceed to trial. And if you saw the top of this program, you know that in this one reporter's opinion, at least, the case against Kobe Bryant appears fatally flawed, with the evidence concerning somebody else's semen and pubic hair in her panties, her voluntarily sneaking up to his room after that tour, her possibly never saying no, the conflicting accounts as to her demeanor in the aftermath of the encounter, and all the rest add up, I think, to a sure acquittal. Remember, he has to be convicted not by a preponderance of the evidence, but beyond a reasonable doubt. That's why I am proposing that this case be settled out of court. The prosecution, unless it does have a whole lot more than we saw at that preliminary hearing, should drop the charges. The accused should profoundly apologize to this woman and pay her a fortune in reparations. $5 million, I suggest. Why? Because whether or not he raped her, in his mind, in her mind, something terrible happened. Wendy Murphy, what do you think?
You know, Geraldo, I'm not against victims being compensated, and there are lots of creative things going on in the criminal justice system and civil justice system to try to bring reparations to the process. But you know what I really don't like, and I've known you for a long time, and what stuns me about what you just said is that you've just created a two-tier justice system where the poor black guy who gets accused of rape and can't afford to buy his way out of a legitimate prosecution, what does this type of justice system do for him? And you know how important it is to make sure that everyone gets equal justice. Kobe Bryant is a rich celebrity. He is not above the law. He deserves to face the victim in court and let the jury decide this case.
Well, as a former legal aid defense attorney, all I can say, Wendy, under these circumstances, I doubt if there was a ghetto complainant and a poor black alleged perpetrator that the state would bring charges. I think that this is a celebrity prosecution. It took over 2 weeks for them to decide to go after this guy. I think if his name was Kobe Smith, there would be no case in Eagle County, Colorado. That is my opinion.
I think the exact opposite is true.
Well, you may. We can talk about that. That's a circular debate that will lead us nowhere. I asked Craig Silverman, what do you think the impact on the victims' rights movement will be if this case goes to trial, and if, I think we both agree, Kobe Bryant is acquitted?
I think it's having a chilling effect on sex assault victims. The question is, who do you blame for that? Do you blame Kobe Bryant? Do you blame the accuser? Or do you blame the DA for bringing a fatally flawed case? Frankly, Geraldo, I respect the hell out of you, but I don't follow your logic. Look at Michael Jackson, who engaged in a settlement with a sex assault case. He's never regained the respect of most people in America. Kobe Bryant is a public person.
Well, it's a much different set of facts, though, Craig. It's a much different set of facts.
Yeah, but why should he apologize?
One is close to because the woman feels that she has been assaulted. I mean, I don't believe she's being insincere. As I said, I really believe that it is possible that both the victim and the accused, the purported victim and the accused in this case, could both take lie detector tests. Did you rape her? Were you raped? And both pass. Because it's perception now. It is that close a case. That's why I believe that he should have known better. This married man, that she was he didn't know that she was as fragile as she was with the 2 attempted suicides in just the same year. This is a very fragile person.
Well, right, and he's apologized for the adultery, and he paid, I think, $4 million for a diamond to his wife.
If he can afford a $4 million diamond ring, he could. What do you think, Dr. Bannon, about this? All right, I get you. Good.
Craig, I think partly here is that there will be a civil action in this case, and there's likely that in a civil case, she will be able to collect damages with a lower standard of proof. However, I think I'm afraid
maybe he gets acquitted and she loses.
Well, I think he gets acquitted in the criminal trial in the Bronx or in Brooklyn. Juries do funny things, as you know, and over my years, I could see a jury in Colorado, even if there isn't good evidence against Kobe, because she said that she was said no, could believe her and come against her. And I don't think that
contradicted by the record.
I don't think that the outcome is. Let's go see Runaway Jury. You know, juries can do whatever they want to do.
Let me ask you this: on my friend Rita's show, there was a report that the semen in the panties was from weeks before, that it wasn't anything current, that these were dirty underwear she just haphazardly picked up on her way to an examination. Can you date semen in panties?
No, not once it's dried. You can't date it.
So 2 days, 20 days,
two
you can't
days,
tell.
20 days, even 2 years later, it will look the same, except if the semen is still moist, like in a rape kit, in a vaginal swab. Then you can look under the microscope and see if the sperm are
How long
alive.
would it stay moist?
Maybe for 2 days or 3 days internally. But once it gets onto panties,
Yes.
as soon as it dries, all dried semen stains look alike.
How long would it take to dry on the panties?
10 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour.
So it'd be impossible to tell whether it was last night or last month.
No, absolutely not from that. And you can't do it from the bruises either. You can't tell if the bruises on the neck or chin happened 12 hours ago or 36 hours ago.
There's no way this man is going to be convicted. We'll continue the discussion. We actually have a person who was very close to Kobe for 3 years, a former sports publicist, or present sports publicist, Rebecca Tannehill, will be joining us right after this short break.
I'm Carol Iavana. President Bush says the U.S. has no plans to invade North Korea, but the president says he won't sign a non-aggression treaty with the country, which is something North Korea wanted. North Korea has admitted to developing nuclear weapons. President Bush in Thailand for a meeting with the leader of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation. It is the third stop of his Asian-Australian tour. He's expected to talk about the war on terrorism and international efforts in rebuilding Iraq. Mr. Bush has already made stops in Japan and the Philippines. Secretary of State Colin Powell is also along on the tour. He and the Thai foreign minister signed an agreement which will expand trade between the two countries. U.S. forces imposing a curfew in the Sunni town of Khaldea as coalition forces spent the day searching houses looking for illegal weapons. U.S. troops in the holy city of Karbala sealed off roads around the office and house of a Shiite cleric. Commanders believe he is to blame for a shootout that left 3 American soldiers dead. A show of force in Iran, army soldiers, helicopters, and tanks taking part in war games in the western part of the country. It's the last stage of the event meant to sharpen Iran's defense skills. The war games wrapping up as Iran enters into final negotiations with the UN's nuclear watchdog group. Iran's president insists his country has no plans to build nuclear weapons. The Florida Marlins grabbed Game 1 of the World Series, beating the New York Yankees 3-2. The Marlins' Juan Pierre hit a game-winning 2-run single in the 5th inning. The win broke the Yankees' World Series record of 10 consecutive wins at home. The Yankees' Nick Johnson popped up to end the game with the tying run on second base. More news at the top of the hour. At Large continues next.
Before we get on with our exploration of the Kobe Bryant case, this is a Fox News alert. Video of an Ohio school bus veering off the road and onto its side as the children inside screamed and were dangerously tossed around was played in court on Thursday as the bus driver went on trial. If convicted for failure to control the vehicle, a misdemeanor, the driver, 44-year-old Lanny Davis, will be fined just $100. But millions, obviously, in lawsuits could result. And in another tale of the videotape, another has surfaced involving retired general and current candidate for the Democratic nomination for the White House, Wesley Clark. In a January 2002 speech, the general, who has emerged as a key critic of the Bush administration's policy in Iraq, had kind words for the president. Here's General Clark.
Thank you very much. I just want to say, I didn't say this earlier, and I should have. I tremendously admire, and I think we all should, the great work done by our Commander-in-Chief, our President, George Bush, and the men and women of the United States Armed Forces.
In response to the apparent contradiction, the Clark campaign points out that the war in Iraq was still months from starting at the time he made that speech, and that the general was praising the president's policies in Afghanistan. So you have to decide for yourselves whether the Clark tape, which was uncovered incidentally by Time magazine, still has the power to embarrass General Clark. This has been a Fox News alert. Now to Rebecca Tannehill. Rebecca, why don't you tell us how close you were to Kobe Bryant?
Geraldo, we were very close until the day that he moved Vanessa into his home, and then he, just had no friendships going with anybody at that time. And he basically told me that he had that one friend, and that's all that he needed. And as you all watch this trial play out, I think that you see that He doesn't need anybody. That's why you see no parents in the courtroom, no Vanessa. He's the most reclusive person I've ever heard about in my life, and this is just the way he is.
So he told you to skedaddle when he got married? Is that what happened?
He just
Were you
said
his girlfriend or were you his professional friend? What was it?
No, I was a confidant. I had 25 years representing pro athletes in the NBA.
You represent his dad, Kobe's dad? Did I hear that?
No, I knew his dad, and I knew Kobe when he was 3 years old. He used to go to practice on his shoulders.
So how often would you speak prior to his getting married?
Oh, 3 and 4 times a day.
A day? And then after you married Vanessa, you were out?
We didn't talk at all anymore. He introduced me to Vanessa by phone 2 or 3 times, and then he just became they're like one, Geraldo. They were like one. I don't know how it is now. It looks pretty strained in my opinion now.
What do you mean? What are you saying?
I just don't think that I don't think that it's as much together as they think. I think that she would be in the courtroom, number one.
But you have no proof of that. You're merely of that opinion.
No, I don't have any proof of that, but I do believe that she would be in the courtroom.
And what do you think of the charges in this case? Is this like Kobe, the Kobe you knew? Was he an assaultive type? Was he the kind of aggressive type so many of these professional athletes are?
Yeah, they are that way. No, I don't think that it's like Kobe at all. I don't know exactly why he, flipped or why he changed or why this happened. I think that the girl, it sounds like to me, the girl sort of, liked him when she met him. That's obvious from what we're hearing. And, she did go into the room and she did allow him to kiss her. Those are mixed signals to me.
And I believe the jury will also find that. Gloria Allred, another, noted attorney for women's causes, women's rights, victims' rights. This whole issue of the semen and the pubic hair and the panties and how old, I mean, you see where this case is going. I really have to ask you, both Craig and Wendy don't like my idea of a settlement. Dr. Baden does, so I'm losing 1 to 2. What do you think?
Well, Geraldo, there is no reason why Kobe Bryant could not, by way of settlement, offer and provide an amount of money to resolve any kind of civil lawsuit that there may be. On the other hand, he can't condition that settlement on her not testifying in a criminal case, because that would be obstruction of justice. Right. And I'm not suggesting that his attorneys would be foolish enough to try that, but he couldn't do it. Now, I don't agree with you. I respectfully disagree that this case is fatally flawed. The prosecutor himself has said that he hasn't presented all of his evidence. Also, there's a significant issue as to whether past sexual history of the alleged victim is in fact going to be permitted to be introduced at the trial, that in fact the trial judge himself may decide to exclude it. There's going to have to be a notice motion. It'll be in chambers. He'll have to make an offer of proof, and he may exclude it. So in fact, it may be that after the alleged victim testifies that this is going to look like a whole different case and a much stronger case than you think it is right now.
Well, I tell you, I definitely agree with you on one point, Gloria, that Kobe's fate will largely reside in the hands of the trial judge. I think how he rules on evidentiary motions like the sexual history will be crucial. But let me go to Craig Silverman. Is it not a fact, Craig, that the identity of sperm on a victim's clothing or her body is specifically provided for, an exception is provided in the Colorado Rape Shield law at trial, even at trial,
sure,
that specific point can be made by the defense, that this sperm does not belong to my client?
Absolutely. All the Rape Shield law says is that past or subsequent sexual conduct is presumed irrelevant. Then it sets out exceptions. You've named one perfectly there. And clearly, some of these encounters are going to be admissible. You had that sports publicist on. There was one great decision made during the preliminary hearing. There's no way Kobe Bryant's wife should have been there. She would have run screaming from that room. And if you just look at the videotape you played, he had his good friend and lawyer and agent there in the brown suit. I think his name's Rob Pelinka. So for her to say that he doesn't have any friends coming with him or any close associates anymore is just plain wrong, and I don't know why she's saying those things.
All right, now, both Wendy, Craig, and Gloria have suggested, and indeed they are merely reporting what the district attorney said in Eagle, Colorado. He ain't seen nothing yet. What do you think he has? Does he have anything, or is everything that he has from this point on the obvious? The bell man, some of the other friends, things of that nature, tangential kinds of witnesses.
Well, I think he's whistling past the graveyard myself. This yellow underwear explanation that this woman picked up soiled underwear from 2 weeks before, who's buying that? Who does that? This woman was living at home with her mother and father. They have a washer and dryer. She has free access to it. Probably her parents do her laundry. Who's buying that story? I think the reasonable inference is that she came home, she changed into another pair of underwear. Perhaps this was seepage from a prior encounter, but remember, she said the June 28 encounter was with somebody who wore a condom. And in terms of it being a boyfriend, let's remember in May she attempted suicide and overdosed, according to the Orange County Register, because of a breakup with a boyfriend. And the testimony of Detective Winters was, when Kobe Bryant asked her, do you have a boyfriend, she said, no, I don't.
Wendy, see why I want to save this person? I want to save this person anymore.
I want to save you all from your distorted views of reality and your incredible inability to use common sense. Who cares what was in her underwear? The story she told. His hand holding her head down over a chair.
How about 2 or 3 of the jurors?
He's raping her from behind. Look, I don't want to be too graphic here, but imagine this gigantic guy standing up. He's got her down. He's very tall.
She went up to the room voluntarily.
He's raping her from behind. That explains why he literally
I don't know.
Rip in her vagina. She was bleeding onto his T-shirt.
You live in cosmopolitan Boston. I live in New York City. We hear these stories and we wonder, what do you think a jury is going to do where social mores are much more traditional, and they hear about all these things, and you think it has zero impact? Why? Because this is a black man in a white county? I don't buy that. I don't buy it. This is not Mike Tyson.
Look, this is the reason, this is the whole point of listening carefully to the victim's story. If she's telling the truth, this was a brutal act of degrading violence, one of the worst rapes I have heard of.
No, I don't believe that it's one of the worst rapes you've ever heard of.
In an acquaintance rape setting. In an acquaintance rape setting is my point. Now,
why, because he's big and she's little? I don't understand that.
No, because he held her down, Geraldo. He ripped her vagina. She was bleeding.
He didn't rip her vagina. That's not in evidence. Wendy, that's not in evidence. That's not in evidence. There is not a single tear on... Craig, is there a tear on this woman's vagina or not?
Wendy, you're flat wrong. I was in the courtroom. Here's the question. Was there any damage to the vagina?
Testimony.
Zero trauma to the vagina. She had a slight laceration. Well, you keep saying she has a ripped, but she had no ripped vagina. You're wrong, Wendy. It was her posterior fourchette. Her posterior fourchette. Can you let me talk?
Hold it. Bring it in a doctor. Hold it. An expert witness. Dr. Baden, tell us what you...
The type of injury described in the court is the kind that can happen in consensual
it can.
Sex, too. I used to see it at Bellevue as an intern when newlyweds would come into the emergency room when a big guy and a little girl get married, consensual, and they can have tears around the vagina, small ones, and of the type that Kobe has. So you can tell consensual and non-consensual just on the basis of injury to the vagina or anus.
Have you testified in many rape cases?
Yeah, rape murder cases mostly.
Rape murder cases.
Yes.
I just wonder, when you hear the sum total of the evidence as we know it today, do you have an opinion?
I think the evidence is very even. What's going to happen is, do they believe her as a witness or him as a witness? And this is it's he said, she said. I think the forensic evidence is ambiguous, and it's going to be he said, she said.
It's not ambiguous. Would you stop saying that?
I think it's ambiguous. That's my opinion.
The way she described the rape occurred is consistent with the physical injuries.
Your passion can't make it so, Wendy.
The bruise on the chin.
Your passion can't make it. Can't change ambiguity to certainty. It can't. However impassioned your argument.
This is a jury to decide, and you've decided she's a liar, and the police are in a conspiracy.
I've decided that there are two sides to this story, and you refuse to see that. And this is a jury trial. We're not God. We can't look into their souls. They're going to hear the evidence as it's presented. You've already seen what Pamela Mackey has done with the state's case. The defense hasn't even introduced a single witness yet. This woman is in for the real rape is coming. That's why I want to avoid. That's what I want. Anyway, I don't know why I love Wendy Murphy. I love the victims' rights movement. I believe that my talk show is the first one to concentrate on the victims' rights movement. But sometimes the accused have rights too. And anyway, I love you, Wendy. You too, Craig, Gloria, Patricia Schiff. Rebecca Tomahill, and you, of course.
Thank you.
And your beautiful wife, Linda. We'll be right back. Stand by.
Buonasera, signore. Benvenuti. Today, we have some wonderful specials. First, the fresh angel hair pasta with a homemade tomato sauce. So sure to give you heartburn, you'll never forget.
It's different for people with acid reflux disease.
On top of that exquisite pain, acid gonna churn up your stomach and grate away the lining of your esophagus just like it would the Parmesan cheese.
You should ask your doctor about the purple pill called Nexium.
You could be up all night.
For many people, with one prescription Nexium daily, heartburn goes away and stays away.
Tossing and turning.
And Nexium actually heals acid reflux erosions in the esophagus. Other serious stomach conditions may still exist. Talk to your doctor. Nexium has a low occurrence of side effects, including headache, diarrhea, and abdominal pain. Call this number for more information and a Nexium free trial offer. Don't let acid reflux eat at you.
How does that sound?
Relief, healing, Nexium.
Cable is history. Now there's DirecTV. More sports, more movies, more family programs, more of the TV you love, and more of the TV you'll love to discover. Direct by satellite right into your world. And with the Total Choice Plus with local channels package, you get more than 130 channels for less than $40 a month with digital quality picture and sound. And right now, you can get a free 3-room DirecTV system, including standard installation. Call 888-DirecTV. DirecTV, 11 million fans and counting. And when you can get more than 130 channels for less than $40 a month, plus a free 3-room DirecTV system, it's time you became a fan too.
Sunday at 9. Breaking news, politics, global hotspots. Fox News Channel highlights the events shaping your world. Sunday Best with Jane Skinner. Then at 10, he was at the center of a media circus. Now Kato Kalin has a game plan for Kobe. Plus, from scandalous evidence to shocking accusations, Robert Shapiro cross-examines the facts on At Large with Geraldo Rivera.
Last Thursday evening, when we heard that there had been a terrible accident involving the world-famous Staten Island ferry, my brother Craig, producer Greg Hart, and I jumped in my boat and headed for the scene of the carnage. Having known and loved that ferry my whole life, what we saw there was truly distressing. For a sailor on the familiar waters of New York Harbor to see the 300-foot-long Staten Island ferry, that familiar icon of New York culture, smashed up against the pilings at her berth here on Staten Island is truly alarming. One of the worst catastrophes ever, perhaps, in the harbor history. And the driver, in shame or driven by the ancient law of the sea to go down with the ship, in essence doing that, going home, slitting his own wrists, attempting to take his own life in shame. It is a horrifying story with a modern twist. The big mystery that emerges from the disaster is why no one besides the ill-fated pilot, Captain Richard Smith, was in that cockpit as the ferry was driving at full speed into that concrete pier with devastating results. To get the details on the ongoing investigation, please meet David Andreatta of the Staten Island Advance. It's a fine newspaper out there where the ferry impacted one of the 5 boroughs of New York City. So what do we know? Why was he alone in that cockpit?
Well, at this point right now, we're not quite sure that he's alone. Sources involved in the investigation are saying that he indeed was alone. However, Captain Mike Gansis, who should have been in the pilot house with Richard Smith, told authorities the day of the crash that he indeed was in the pilot house. Investigators will be interviewing Mr. Gansis on Tuesday.
Is there a supposition or a possibility that he's lying, that he was supposed to be there, that regulations require 2 men in the cockpit and he just made it up?
Regulations do require that there be 2 men. In fact, possibly a third in the cockpit pilot house. And I think, as of right now, I mean, sources are saying that Mr. Gansis was not in the pilot house. And if Mr. Smith was incapacitated in some way, which seems to be the indication right now, why Mr. Gansis or no one else saw it earlier is the big question.
That's my question. I saw that vessel, and that thing 300 foot of steel just torn out. That must have been going full speed when it hit that pier. You've got to slow up before you get to the pier, even though you've got to bring those in with some authority because they're so unwieldy, and especially in a high wind day like that. But that boat seems to me not to have reduced speed even 1 knot as it came in.
It didn't reduce speed at all.
And nobody noticed.
Investigators figure that it struck the pier at about 17 miles per hour.
That's top speed for that boat.
That's top speed for that boat. Mr. Gansas and another deckhand, a so-called lookout, is supposed to be in that pilot house at any time. What the protocol is that once the boat slows down, which is about a quarter mile from the pier, the deckhand, the lookout, goes downstairs and readies passengers to leave the boat. And the captain is supposed to oversee the assistant captain docking the boat. That clearly didn't happen.
Didn't happen. David Andriata from the Staten Island Advance. Thanks, man. We're going to meet a lawyer. The first notice of claim lawsuits have been filed for loss of life and limb in the ferry disaster. Let me take a quick break. We'll talk to the lawyer, and then we'll go out to Yankee Stadium, if you care, for the latest on the World Series. That's right after this.
From bad hair days to financial oversights, we've all had moments when we felt caught in the world's harsh spotlight. Just how many homeowners feel when they go to refinance. Instead, AmeriQuest welcomes them with respect and personal care, which is why our customers see refinancing in a whole new light.
To see for yourself, call 1-800-680-1306.
AmeriQuest, the company that knows you are more.
I just want to run away.
Can you imagine what will happen if the press gets a hold of this? The DA's son and the pornographer's daughter?
You tell your son to keep his filthy hands off my daughter.
You cannot see this girl again, ever.
The rich man's dead.
What have I done?
I love you.
I love you too.
Coming next week on Fox.
If you would like to enhance your male's sexual stamina, then you need Trimega, the all-natural male potency formula.
By Trimega stimulating blood flow targeted to specific areas, clinical study participants enjoyed safe, longer-lasting performance.
Trimega is the only natural herbal formula backed by a double-blind clinical study, guaranteed to work in 30 to 60 minutes every time you use it.
The time it takes Trimega to start working and how it works are similar to pharmaceutical products known to enhance male stamina. However, because it's an all-natural supplement, Trimega does not require a doctor's prescription.
Trimega is guaranteed to enhance your stamina and virility and is backed by a 100% money-back guarantee. Experience the results you've always wanted now with Trimega.
Call 1-800-617-0023. When you call, ask how you can receive a free supply of Trimega. That's 1-800-617-0023.
Now you can stop smoking for free. As a special limited time offer, before Easy Quit goes on sale at your local retailer, you can stop smoking in just 7 days for free. Introducing Easy Quit, the natural stop smoking system that helps you stamp out nicotine cravings. Why pay up to $150 for other products, patches, gum, and expensive prescriptions when you can stop smoking in just 7 days for free with Easy Quit?
With Easy Quit, I quit smoking in 7 days, and I feel great.
I recommend Easy Quit because it's safe, it's effective.
Because Easy Quit is natural, you won't have to worry about side effects like weight gain, nervousness, or insomnia. Do it for your family. And most importantly, do it for yourself. Because now you could quit smoking in just 7 days. So call right now to get the complete Easy Quit Stop Smoking System. A $159 value, absolutely free. We'll also send you a 3-month supply of Easy Lung to help you on your way to a healthier, smoke-free life. The complete Easy Quit system is well over a $200 value, but it's yours absolutely free with this limited time offer. Call now.
At the Yankee Stadium, and our friend Rick Leventhal. Anthony Visignato is an attorney for 2 of the people who are on board the ferry, both injured, mother and son, Dinah and Jaleel Washington. What are you thinking, $10 million in damages?
Right, and you have to realize that the amount that's stated in the notice of claim is something that's required, but not necessarily the amount that would be recovered.
As I recall my maritime law, though, the recovery is limited to the value of the vessel. There's a lot of claimants for I don't know what a ferry boat costs, but I can't imagine it's more than like $20 million total. You've got scores of people injured. How are you going to beat that limitation?
Well, the limitation of liability that vessel owner is allowed to plead and petition in federal court would allow them to plead the total number of damages that they'd be would be payable would be limited to the amount of the vessel, the worth of the vessel, and where death is involved, it's an extra $150 per gross tonnage. In this particular case, though, the circumstances...
How badly injured were they?
Well, the people, for example, one of the clients I have has a terrible leg injury. She has various injuries and a psychological overlay like you've never seen. People don't want to read the newspapers. They don't want to turn on the TV. They've been at war. They've seen a battle.
Do you want someone criminally prosecuted in this case?
Well, I think the rules require that there should be some type of criminal prosecution. I don't think anybody intended this to happen, and it may have been an isolated event, but on the other hand, there may be some times where shoddy practices of taking for granted what occurs on the ferry on a daily basis have to be looked into.
Good luck.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Geraldo.
Thank you. Even as we speak, ladies and gentlemen, two teams are vying for the World Championship of Baseball, but they're not the Cubs, they're not the Red Sox, so who cares about the expansion Florida Marlins? They've already won one. The perennial winners, 26-time winners of the New York Yankees. Apparently lots of people at Yankee Stadium, at least. With the latest, let's go to Fox News correspondent Rick Leventhal. What's the score, man? Who's winning? How's the crowd responding? They don't care that the Sox aren't there, do they?
I don't care at all, as long as I'm here, along with my buddies working the game. The Yankees are losing 3-2. It's the top of the 8th. Nelly's on the mound for the Yankees. Kind of a quiet crowd, Geraldo, but, you know, so some people would say it's a corporate crowd. It costs a lot of money to see this game in the World Series, and so these aren't your regular fans. But if the Yankees start winning this game, I think they'll erupt. In the meantime, it's a very secure environment here, as you might imagine. Police aren't telling us exactly how many officers they have out here, but suffice it to say, probably well over 1,000 law enforcement personnel inside and outside the house that Ruth built, in and out of uniform. There are barricades in place, extra checkpoints, undercover officers working the crowd, and extensive inspections of every bag and package being carried inside. Not just the NYPD on duty, of course. You have state and federal agencies out here as well, including the Department of Homeland Security and the Joint Terrorism Task Force. So you have multiple agencies, multiple details, all working to ensure that the focus stays on baseball, and so far it has. We found actor and comedian Robin Williams on the field. Even he noticed a difference.
It was a dual cavity search, and that to me was worth the price of admission. When he didn't use gloves, which was, I thought was unusual, and even the dog spent a long time with me. It was when they're there just kind of...
Was that enjoyable for you?
Well, for the dog. I remember the dog was like this when I left.
I think he was exaggerating.
Yeah, maybe not. I saw Bruce Willis. I saw Billy Crystal. Who else did you see?
Yeah, gee, who else did we see? I saw John Sally out there for the Best Damn Sports Show.
But I agree with you. The Yankee Stadium is very corporate. I mean, it's all perks. You know, the regular fans, I don't know if they get tickets to the World Series. I mean, it's the swells. I mean, I can go if I want to, I guess. But after 26 times, I don't know if I'm that hyped up on the Yankees anymore.
Well, you know, they've been in the World Series 6 out of the last 8 years.
Maybe that's why.
I was here for 5 out of 6, and, you know, I was getting tired of it by the end, but you know what? They weren't in it for a year, and now we're all pretty psyched to be here again.
But I tell you, isn't it better than getting shot at, Rick?
Yes, it's definitely better than that. No doubt about it.
And, you know, I'm glad you pointed out the security, because it brings back the sobering reality of all these other stories that we're covering, and we live in a very dangerous world. But hopefully nothing will happen. The teams will have a great time, and so will you. Thanks very much for being with us. And thank you, folks, for watching. We'll see you tomorrow night. Until then, stay safe.